Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning in to episode 507 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube as always. Whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, you are very, very welcome. I see we have got quite a few comments already, and I need to scroll up to the top again in this new system that we've got. Alex says, hello, dear Mr. P, and hello to everyone. Happy second Advent. Second Advent? What do you mean second advent? My scent of the day is the heavenly Mitsuko by Gabriel. You smell absolutely amazing, Alex. Perfume by the Sea as well is here saying, evening everyone, looking forward to some perfume escapism. Krustieva says, hello, all my scent of the day is L'air du désert marocain by Tower. Another great choice. Medalau says, hello, lovely people from Dubai. Morning scent was Azure for pool time, pretending I'm in the 70s. Sundowner scent was Siemens Spice by Abdusalam Attar. Now, I'm familiar with the first one, not so much with the second one. Lots of comments today. David says, hello, everyone. Scent of the day is Armani Sea Intense. Frag Chaitan says, hi, all from northern Illinois in the US, where there is over a foot of snow. And Frag Chaitan scent of the day is Asiade from Parfum d'Empire. Laura says, I love Shalimar so much. It's a 50-year love affair at this point. My perfume is from the early 2000s, and I'm terrified that when I run out, the replacement won't be as good, which means you need to stock up. Right, keep the comments coming, folks. And Xavi says, I'm wearing leather oud. Gosh, I do love leather oud, but that's been changed as well. Okay. As I say, thank you very much indeed for tuning in. Whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, you are very, very welcome. Feel free to leave a comment, ask a question at any time. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do consider doing so and click on the little bell as well, the YouTube bell, so that you get notifications about new videos coming your way. Very, very briefly as well, just for the benefit of those of you tuning in live, planning to do two back-to-back videos today. This first one is unquestionably going to be longer than the second one. We're going to do a showcase of a brand new brand, a brand that has been, I think, on the shelves, on the market, only for a few months. And then we'll take a break of a couple of minutes and come back with, I think, fair to say, something pretty old. We'll do one of our little vintage episodes, but there's a reason why I'm doing this particular vintage episode today. Okay. As I say, comments, questions, keep them coming. And if you are enjoying the video, please give it a thumbs up, because that helps with the old YouTube algorithm. And also, because we are kind of trialing all sorts of new systems and new bits and pieces of stuff here and there, please do let me know if everything seems to be coming through fine, particularly in terms of whether the audio and the video are in sync, because I have no way of testing that in the middle of a broadcast. The brand that is in our spotlight today. Oh, Rachel says, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this brand, yet to try. Okay, thank you very much for tuning in, Rachel. I would be very, very interested to find out what you think of it. The brand is Solferino, so let us give their bottle the attention it deserves here. This is well, we'll talk about the names of the perfumes. Solferino has got an interesting, if you are into industry machinations. No, machinations is actually the wrong word. If you're basically just interested in industry happenings and what's going on in the perfume industry, then Solferino, industry developments, I suppose, industry trends, then Solferino is very, very interesting. What else can I show you about the bottle? You can see that it's got an engraved logo. Do we call that engraved? Is that engraved? A very, very attractive cap. Let's just do the whole QVC thing here. Now, why do I say Solferino is interesting? It looks very clean and refined, says Xabi. Oh, and Rachel says audio and video look good. Thank you very much. Much obliged, Rachel. Okay. Some of you may be aware that there is a company out there called Interparfum. Now, Interparfum is a little bit like Coty, a little bit like some of the other perfume type brands that you have out there, in the sense that it's a perfume licensing brand. So, Interparfum might approach, well, to give an example of one of the brands that is currently in its stable. I think I'm right in saying that one of them is Jimmy Choo. Yes, so at the moment they have the perfume licenses for brands like Coach, Jimmy Choo, Lanvin, Rochas, Boucheron. Some of those may be wrong, but they either have got those now or they have had them at some point. And they go to the brand and they say, would you like us to make your perfumes? And the people at Montblanc or Montclair say, yes, okay, and we will let you have the license for X number of years and you can make the perfumes under, we'll give you the license to make these perfumes under our brand name. You will be aware that sometimes we talk about the Gucci years at YSL. Well, that was because what happened was that the company that was Gucci then, or owned Gucci, had the license to do Yves Saint Laurent perfumes, and that was why Tom Ford got on board, because he was on board at Gucci at the time, and so when YSL came into the portfolio, he was able to have a hand in Yves Saint Laurent perfumes. Coty do a similar sort of thing. So at the moment, Coty own the license for Calvin Klein. Coty own the license for, mind is going blank, Adidas. Chloe is a big one of theirs. But you will be aware that Coty did an interesting thing last year where they launched a brand of their own. They launched the Infiniment Coty range. And a lot of people saw this as evidence of the fact that they wanted a brand that they could control themselves completely. Because what happens if you're a Jimmy Choo or a Montblanc or a Montclair, after X number of years, after the contract is coming to an end, you can go to the license holder and say, thanks very much for the last 5 years, but actually we'd like to go to somebody else now, which means that the brand that had been the license holder effectively loses all of the perfumes, and another company has to start from scratch. Xabi says, so machinations would have been a very suitable word. Maybe, I suppose. Well, no, because machinations has got this kind of Machiavellian feel to it, hasn't it? And a lot of companies have changed hands several times over the years. So Boucheron didn't always have its license with Interparfum. Issey Miyake perfumes did used to be with Interparfum, and now they've gone sort of in-house with Shiseido. And this is a lot of the time, where quite often when there is a change of license holder is when we see the portfolio being changed. We see reformulations. I mean, look at what happened a few years ago with Mugler going away from Clarins and going into L'Oreal. Blah 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 blah. I promise we will do some smelling in a moment, but this is all relevant. So Solferino is the brand that has been created by Interparfum to be a brand of their own. So it is a completely new brand. They own it 100%, and so nobody can in 5 years' time say, well, we're fed up with you, or thanks but no thanks, we don't want to carry on our contract with you. Like in the same way that Coty own Infiniment Coty, Interparfum own Solferino. So that in itself is interesting, because I guess it would mean that they really, really want to make it work. Not that they wouldn't want to make their other perfumes work, their perfumes for Coach or whoever, because obviously they want to be successful so that they can keep getting the license. That may be why there's no cohesiveness in those brands, says Jen O. Well, we can have that discussion another time, maybe, discuss. Rachel says, yes, vintage heads are really into this kind of history. But I do think it's interesting because at some point it does also have an effect on the stuff that you get in the bottle. But Interparfum have pushed Solferino in a big way. So I think another thing that makes Solferino interesting is that it is a brand that has nothing but perfume at the moment. So Montclair, obviously clothes, Montblanc, pens and luxury items, Jimmy Choo, shoes, Coach. What's Coach? Is Coach handbags or clothes? No, it's clothes, isn't it? I don't even know. But Solferino is a through and through perfume brand. And I personally think that's interesting, because it means that you are creating the identity based completely on perfumes, and you're not sort of trying to say, okay, well, what can we tag on to the latest lipstick, or what can we tag on to the latest nail varnish, or what can we tag on to the latest, dinner jacket design for men, or whatever. Hey Noah says the bottle looks like the one from Dolce & Gabbana's more expensive line. In a way, slightly different proportions, I think, though, if memory serves. And the Solferino people, or the Interparfum people, have also opened a boutique. So there is a Solferino boutique in Paris. And And they have pulled out all the stops in terms of the perfumers that they've commissioned to create their scents, because some of these have been made by the likes of Antoine Maisondieu, Fabrice Pellegrin. What other names can I give you? Is there a Nathalie Lawson? I don't want to say if there is a Nathalie Lawson, if there isn't. I will tell you all of them. Oh, and Filippo, I'll tell you all of them in a moment. What do folks say? Rachel says, interesting tensions between monopoly and corporate visions of vertical integration. Yes, absolutely. This is where I start getting fidgety, because I'm looking at the timer there and it says 10 minutes and 53 seconds, and I'm thinking I haven't smelt a single perfume yet. So once this broadcast is done, at some point later today or tomorrow, I will do timestamps for all the actual perfume smelling. But folks, if you've come to this channel, then you should realize, if you don't already, that this is where we do heavy contextualization, heavy geekery. If you've come to the sort of if you've come looking for the sort of channel where we do a quick spray and when we go, I love it, then I'm afraid you need to look for a different channel in the nicest possible way. Offenlich says, I'm curious if this brand manages to create some sort of cohesive yet unique identity. On brief glance, they seem a bit bland, but I shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Okay, well, I think maybe we can talk about that at the end. I think there is a cohesive identity, but I think it's a very interesting sort of identity, because I can say from the start that I do like several of these. I was really taken with them. I initially got 3 or 4 vials, like little 2 ml vials or whatever they are, 1.5 ml. And I'd never heard of the brand, and I didn't, and there was a good reason why I hadn't heard of the brand, is because it's new, right? But I very often don't look into context or background when I'm smelling new things. I kind of think, okay, we'll do the smelling first and then go back. And I smelt the 4 vials that I had, and I thought, well, these are quite pretty. These are actually doing something quite accessible, but in not at all a silly or insubstantial way. And then I decided to investigate further. And I think as a brand, it's making quite an impressive debut statement. I guess where things might start getting problematic, although this is debatable, is that a brand like this, you can imagine, wants to arrive with a splash. And so they have launched with 10 perfumes. That's a lot. Infiniment Coty also launched with however many was. It was 78 or something that they did in their stackable bottles with the stackable packaging and everything. So 10 is a lot. I personally actually think 5 is a lot. 10 is really a hefty number. And so you can't help but think, oh, okay, so does that mean that actually we've got 3 good ones and 7 duds or whatever it is? But actually, they have gone for a range, and it's not as though they've done 10 leathers or 10 roses. Far from it. Somebody at Interparfum clearly knows their stuff, and has thought, okay, we needed this, and we needed this, and we need one of those, and we need something that is kind of feeling a little bit Arabian, and we need something light, and they have done it quite intelligently and cohesively, and also clearly. I think what I appreciated about these perfumes as I was smelling them is that in every single case, pretty much, I got what they were trying to be. It was very clear what kind of gap in the collection they were trying to fill, what sort of box they were trying to tick. It does make sense. I think maybe, when I say that they're accessible, maybe that means that they want to be seen as leaning towards the mainstream camp rather than the sort of out there weird and wonderful independent camp, but that's okay. I remember the brand that came out a few years ago called Wilgerma. The founder of the brand, what was he called? Francisco Gratacos. He also wanted to make perfumes independently, but perfumes that had a sort of accessible, approachable spirit. And I personally think it's a bit of a shame that we don't seem to have heard much more from that brand in the UK, because I actually liked a lot of their debut stuff. So these do tend towards the mainstream, but I think that they're interesting. We're not going to smell 10 because I haven't got 10 samples, but we'll try to do 6, maybe 7. Now, perfume names. Perfume names are always interesting as well. Because I think they're hedging their bets a little bit here, the Solferino people, because they have given each perfume a number, so they are numbered from 1 to 10, but they also have a name, and the name has got a kind of double-barreled, double-edged thing going as well, because in each name there is a reference to a Parisian location, but there's also a word or a phrase that is meant to give you some sense of the sort of concept or idea that goes with the perfume. So I personally think the names are trying a tiny little bit too hard, and I wonder if what might happen is that after a year or two, assuming that they've done well enough to stick around, maybe somebody in the marketing department may say, okay, well, actually we could ditch the numbers now, or we could ditch the Parisian address thing now. I don't know. It's like they're trying this multi-pronged approach to see what sticks. The ones that we can't smell today are numbers 1, 3, and 8. So I will tell you very, very quickly that number 1, I've smelt them all, but these 3 I've smelt very, very briefly, so I wouldn't want to kind of give you an in-depth, definitive review. Number 1 is called Reverie sur Seine, and that's the one by Nathalie Lawson, and that's your basic, extremely well done, very, very friendly, herbal citrusy cologne. And I think it's kind of quite appropriate that number 1 is the cologne. Number 3 is by Jean-Christophe Hérault, and that's called Thé au Palais Royal, so tea at the Palais Royal. And that one I do wish I'd had an opportunity to smell again, because that was actually quite a kind of strange, fermented, fetid, oolong, lapsang souchong type tea. And it made me think more than once of Acro's Infuse by Olivier Cresp. If you smelt Infuse, you'll remember how that took quite a strange, unconventional route approach into the tea scent. So that's number 3. And number 8, which I haven't got, is by Chaillot La Maison Dieu, and that's called Un Baiser, Place Vendome. So a kiss, Place Vendome. And that one, my initial response to that wasn't particularly favourable, but maybe one day I'll have a chance to listen to it again. Well, in the Kodo ceremony in Japan, they talk about listening to smells, don't they? That one was a very, very chilly, quite ice cold, incensey iris, but chilly in an off-putting way. My initial feeling about it was that it wasn't chilly in a gothic, dramatic, let's all throw ourselves into Ophelia's lake, iris silver mist, Saint Lutin's way. This was quite cold, and I also thought that it was odd that a perfume as cold as that was called a kiss. But those are the three we haven't got today. So, Xabi says Lapsang Souchong. They've got my attention now. It probably was more oolong than Lapsang Souchong, but it was not. It was not that dull, generic, oh, this is tea in a perfume type thing that so many tea perfumes do. It was actually surprisingly much more interesting than that. To make life easier for myself, I think with the others, because I kind of started thinking, oh, what order should I go in? Should I leave my favorite for the last? I don't actually have a clear favorite at the moment. I think I'm just going to go in number order, if you don't mind, just to make things easier. Now, just to confuse us, the one that's number 2, the one that is perfume number 2, is actually called 10 Solferino, the address. And that's the address of, I think that's the address of Interparfum, the parent company, right? Sohig says, I'm using AI to generate conversation. Okay, if that's meant to be a joke, I don't get it. Oh, Yvette says, is it a breakup kiss? Well, maybe, or kiss from a snow queen. Could be, maybe that's the idea. Maybe we're meant to have been seen it as something a little bit unexpected. So let me get my we have pre-sprayed blotters for all of these. Aren't you glad? I certainly am, that after all of that, we finally get to do some smelling. Okay, number 10, Solferino, which is perfume number 2. I wonder why that one isn't number 10. I mean, is it something to do about the progression of the perfumes or something? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I also have a press release, but I'm not going to, I think I need to be careful because otherwise we won't be doing enough smelling if we just keep doing press releasing and all of that sort of thing. So, number 2, go back to this bit of my notebook. Can you hear the pages turning? This is a real notebook here. Okay, this is by Antoine Maisondieu. Here we go. Often says the notes of this one read a lot like Lipstick Rose, but I'm sure it's completely different. It's not Lipstick Rose. It's more a sort of peachy orange blossomy rose. It's very, very, very pretty. It's got a kind of green rose feel to it at the top. It doesn't have. There is another one. There is another one that's lipsticky. It's not this one. Xavier says number 10 is number 2. Well, yeah, but that's the only one where they've really messed with our heads with the numbers. Okay. I think, some roses. I love a rose perfume, as regular viewers will know. But there are some roses that are presented in a way that's almost tangy, where they emphasize the greenness to the point that it just starts becoming a little bit acerbic, a little bit acidic. Some people like that. If you remember Acqua di Parma's Rosa, was it Rosa Nobile? That Madame Persolaise was a huge fan of and got through several travel sprays of it. I always found myself wanting that kind of green element, tangier element of the rose. I found myself wanting it to be balanced by a bit more of the oomph of the sort of creamy buxomness of rose. This one is doing that kind of tangy, light, fresh rose. I suppose maybe we're meant to think that it's kind of got a sort of tea rose note to it as well. Let me just see if we can get a little bit of press release blurb without covering the microphone. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? What are you folks saying? I like a rose perfume with a bit of bite to it, says Hey Noah. Well, yes, I suppose this does have some bite. So I'm going to skip the bit of the press release where they talk about the background of the company. So we've got Reverie sur Seine. Okay, now this is their little blurb. The blurbs aren't too long. On perfume number 2, which is number 10. Nestled between the tranquil banks of the Seine and the lively Boulevard Saint-Germain, the grand facade of the mansion at 10 Rue de Solferino draws admiration. Within its walls, the whispers of history linger in the air, while its elegant courtyard, bathed in light, speaks of the Parisian way of life. A masterpiece of timeless architecture, this prestigious residence blends heritage and elegance with an enduring, graceful allure. The rose, an eternal and multifaceted flower, is a nod to the history of this prestigious address. Its silky petals are softly dusted with iris and brightened with a touch of tea. Like this forward-thinking city, the flower evolves with fruity notes and a rich woody base, giving it a bold twist and a very contemporary feel. Okay, and it is one of the simpler ones from this brand. I really like a green stemmy. Stemmy is a good word, Xabi, such as the one in Rose Cuir. Yeah, although that one I think is more substantial in the Frederick Malle, but stemmy is a good word, actually. There is. I just keep thinking green. I keep thinking green and leafy, where it almost feels as though the rose is quite young somehow. Pre-sprayed. Let us do pre-sprayed blotter, folks. Oh, this is going to make life confusing for me because I didn't actually say. Okay, well, what I will do is if I make sure I fling the pre-sprayed blotter as far away from myself as possible, then there won't be any confusion. All right, pre-sprayed Solferino. It's very, very well sustained. Almost to the point where you could say that this is quite a linear piece of work. It's still quite rosy. It's not overly woody, and it's pretty. It's unquestionably pretty. And try and remind me of that when we get to the end of the video, please, somebody, because I was very conscious of the fact that we were doing a showcase of something last week, and I wanted to make a sort of overall summative comment at the end, and I didn't. So I will try. Somebody, as we're getting to the end, somebody shout, summarize. And we will try to summarize. Number 3 is one of the ones we can't smell, so we've talked about that already. That's the tea one. Number 4 is by Jordi Fernandez, and that's called Folies A Montmartre. So what is that? Foolishness at Montmartre, or silliness at Montmartre. Some people would say that the actual church is a folly in itself. Let's see if I can find my pre-spray. I mean, the names aren't the easiest, are they? Okay, here we go. So this is number 4. Jordi Fernandez. Have I got my notes on this one? Yes, I have. Okay, this is the one, which is perhaps out of the 10 that I've smelt, probably the most redundant. This is the one which is your kind of Arabian rose leather thing. I mean, no surprise that it's by Jordi Fernandez. I wonder whether he enjoys making more and more of these sorts of releases, or whether there's a bit of him that kind of goes, please don't make me do another rose leather Arabian type perfume. It's nicely done, and the leather note, as I'm smelling it here now, is quite butch. I mean, it's got some real character to it. But we have had this before. Is it like a Tuscan leather with a bit more rose? Often says Jordi Fernandez seems like one of the most typecast perfumers of all. I know, certainly at the moment. What did I write about it? I've just said, it's straight away. I wrote rose and leather. I'm not sure we need another one of these. What do they say? Dominated by the majestic Basilique Sacré-Cœur, Montmartre breathes with the bohemian spirit that once stirred the souls of Picasso, Modigliani, and Toulouse-Lautrec. Here, where history whispers from every corner, the atmosphere is alive with the essence of creativity. Old windmills, timeless cafes, and hidden alleyways reveal artists' studios and sweeping views of Paris. In this vibrant haven where art and life converge, Montmartre carries an enchanting air of freedom and mystery, as if the very streets pulse with the energy of its storied past. Okay, tell us about the perfume. The free, creative spirit of Montmartre is captured in a rich black leather fragrance, embodying true Parisian elegance. Its notes are enhanced by the bold character of rose absolute and rose essence. Like a bridge between east and west, frankincense and benzoin add sensual warmth, illuminating the scent. The magic of this bohemian and artistic neighborhood lingers in its enduring presence. It is a perfectly good example of what it is trying to be. If you haven't smelt all of the ones that have come before it, you would be impressed with this. And pre-sprayed Montmartre goes a little bit like this. Again, quite linear. Now, what I haven't done is do a lot of the smelling of the pre-sprayed stuff, and I wonder if maybe the creative forces thought, no, we need to go for linear perfumes. We need to do the whole kind of thing of people get at the end what they paid for at the beginning, if you see what I mean. But nicely done. And it doesn't go into ambery woods territory. It doesn't become boring. And these were sprayed over 5 hours ago. So actually they're doing all right. Rachel says, interestingly, Montmartre is directly next to Barbès, the 18th, a huge North African Middle Eastern neighborhood. Okay. I don't know. So there we are. That's that one. Next up, we have... now I wonder if this is possibly my favorite. So perhaps we should save that one. Oh, no, there was another one. No, let's just go in order. Because my head won't be able to cope. Number 6 is Paris Radieux. So I guess that's Radiant Paris. And it's by Yann Vanier, whose work I tend to love, as you know. So let's have a smell of Yann's interpretation of Paris. Xabi says, I wonder about the connection between the name and the leather and rose smell. I would have gone for incense. Well, with a cathedral. Yes. Anyway, Paris Radieux. I would love to meet Yann Vanier one day. I would love to interview him on this channel one day. If there's anybody who could set it up, please let me know. It would be great to have a chat with him. But I'd also love to meet him because and just talk to him about his work. He strikes me as a fascinating figure in the perfume world, because sometimes I think of him as being extremely modern in his approach, and yet there are also very, very few people who can do retro in as interesting and a sort of intellectual way as he can. It's this does have, I think, the most retro feel of the 10. But instead of being, a kind of retro boudoir scent or a retro amber, it's actually in some ways a kind of retro white floral, which is perhaps more interesting than some of the retro things we've had lately. I wondered if it had a kind of gardenia feel to it, but I think it's probably ylang ylang, jasmine, and it is really radiant. There's a huge bergamot, citrus, lemon thing happening at the top, and it's also full of affection. It's full of love. Yves Saint Laurent famously did Paris the perfume as a sort of homage tribute to his beloved Paris, and you can feel that a similar sort of admiration here. Xabi says, I love how he created Plum Japonais. You've lost your comment. Come back. He really got it to smell purple. Yes, I absolutely right. Plum Japonais is great, says Paroli. I still have a few drops of my Plum Japonais somewhere. Another level of interestingness of this scent, it doesn't do retro or vintage in a kind of niche-y, independent sort of way. This is still very much a perfume that wants to be bought by today's customer, and yet it somehow manages to play that modern card as well as the retro card. And I think of the scent that Jan Vanier did for Frassailles, but somebody please help me out because I can't remember its name, and that has a kind of vintagey, almost Mitsuko Chypre type feel to it, and yet is also very, very modern in a way. This is interesting. What did I say about it? Need to flick a few more pages. Yes, I made a little note here to myself that I wondered if it was almost as though it's made, because I don't know where Jan Vanier is based. I know that for a while he was based in Givaudan's offices in New York, I think, but maybe now he is in Paris. It felt to me like a portrait of a city put together by somebody who isn't currently living there or who often spends a lot of time away from there. There's a kind of nostalgic and also idealistic feel to the portrayal of the city. Offenlich says, was it Blondine? Yes, I'm pretty sure it was Blondine. Anyway, what do they say about it? Beneath Paris's ever-changing skies, the Place de l'Étoile gleams like a radiant gem, embodying the city's grandeur and effortless elegance. Its name recalls the celestial pattern formed by 12 avenues that converge, their brilliance spreading like a golden thread through the heart of Paris, etc., etc., etc. Tell us about the perfume. The perfect embodiment of this radiant character, gardenia opens its pure white petals to light up Paris. Its freshness is enhanced by jasmine with a hint of citrus. While a hint of citrus deepens its brilliance, this light endures, anchored by the strength of cedar and the smoothness of vanilla. Paris Radieux is a symbol of elegance, much like the Arc de Triomphe, the monumental landmark that inspired the perfumer. Okay, well, thank goodness he hasn't made a perfume that's basically like a giant block of marble or whatever it is that the Arc de Triomphe happens to be made by. I think it's really attractive, really, really interesting. And let's check out the pre-sprayed Radieux, and I can't believe we've still got 4 to go. Right, we need to speed up. Pre-sprayed Paris Radieux. Almost makes it sound like it's Radio Paris. Okay, interesting. Again, pretty much playing the same tune. That's not necessarily a criticism, but you were asking about cohesiveness earlier. I guess one of the things that makes this range cohesive is that they're pretty much mostly linear. And that is something, I guess, that makes them a bit more contemporary. I suppose the vanilla is coming out a bit more now. But it's attractive. It is attractive. Okay. Number 7. Number 7 came as a little bit of a surprise. 7 is the one for which I've got a full bottle here, so I can show you that. 7 is done by Fabrice Pellegrin and Coralie, is it Spiker? I'm not sure. This is their oud. They had to have an oud, I suppose. Often says, interestingly, Parfumo lists forest gardenia for it, which links up nicely with your description of someone making this fragrance from outside a city. Oh, okay. But what do you mean Parfumo lists forest gardenia for it? As in what? As a forest gardenia? Does gardenia grow in forests? I don't know. Anyway, Minuit Rue Princesse, so midnight in Princess Street. This is a princess, I think, who has come straight from Dubai. Here we go. Right. You know how we've had a few ouds lately that take the oud note, and rather than sort of linking it with rose saffron or strawberry raspberry leather, we're getting more that are in the kind of date, spice, honey type mode. This is one of them, but I think it's one of the better ones. For me, the problem with some of these other ouds is that they too quickly become quite rough and quite harsh. This one has definitely got that kind of oud Isfahan. Do you remember oud Isfahan from Dior? And maybe to some extent leather oud. It's definitely got that kind of rough-edged, don't mess with me because I'll take you for all the petrodollars you're worth type brazen, sassy attitude. But it mostly tones it down. And the dates are allowed to come to the front. The honey is allowed to come to the front. I was very, very taken with this as an example of this sort of oud, which I think we've had enough of. But I smelt this and I went, oh, that's interesting. And it has 101% got Madame Persolaise's name written all over it. And sure enough, when I sprayed it for her, she sort of basically said, I'm having that one. And I said, well, you need to let me do the video first, please, if you don't mind. I won't read about the location. Let's just read about the perfume. Crafted like a woody liqueur, they say, this composition offers a new interpretation of one of the most luxurious ingredients in perfumery. The intense richness of oud is revealed, gently softened by velvety dates. Its sensuality beats to the rhythm of burning saffron and syrupy divana. Precious woods and vanilla highlight their magnetism and conjure up the promise of a sensational soiree in the heart of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. It's nicely done. It is nicely done. More Violette says, I'll never look at Oud Isfahan the same way. You'd better not look at it the wrong way because it'll have you for dinner. Hey Noah says, Oud has to be done in a very interesting way to grab my attention. There are too many ouds out there. Well, there certainly are now. And let us see what the pre-sprayed blotter of this one is doing. Yeah, a bit kind of claws bared, a bit more. But it's generally still quite well disposed. And again, quite linear, although maybe this one has shown more development than the others. Okay, we're down to the last three, folks. Number 8 is the one that I talked about before. That's the one by... How can we be down to 3 and we're on number 8? Have I messed up somehow? Maybe I've missed one somewhere. Because I have missed one somewhere, haven't I? Which one have I missed? Oh, I missed number 5. Did I? Yes. And actually, I shouldn't have missed out number 5 because number 5 is interesting. Let's go back to number 5. None of you noticed, or if you noticed, you were being really, really polite. Number 5 is Un Samedi A Paris. So what's that? A Saturday in Paris. So that's our weekend one. And that is composed by Tanguy Guéné of IFF. Let's get our blotter for that one. And where's my... Oh, that's the full bottle there as well. I just love the fact that none of you noticed we'd missed one. You skipped your favourites as often. No. I was wondering if the Jan Vanier is my favourite. So in the end, I decided to do it. But anyway, never mind. We're fine. Number 5. Number 2 is number 10. So number 5 can be whatever number we got up to. This is Saturday in Paris by Tanguy Guéné. Yes, and actually, this is probably my second favorite. I found this one really fascinating. I would imagine it's probably quite a simple construction. I think it's probably got tons and tons of cedar, tons of ISOE super. But I was really taken with how it was put together. Where are my initial notes on it? Oh yeah, that's it. I loved the contrasts within it because it made me think a lot of Jean-Claude Ellena and his use of cedar. It made me think of Bois Farine. It made me think of warm, sensuous florals, but also something really quite cold. It's fruit and bakeries. It's pepper and cedar. It's got a really, really curious kind of powdery, heated, steamed, roasted opening. And then it starts becoming a skin scent, but in the nicest possible way. It's the closest I've come to smelling something that's like bois farine. Is it that type of laid-back, stay-at-home sort of fragrance, says Xabi? What? Because it's a Saturday? Maybe. I mean, I think it's a snuggling up to somebody type fragrance. So maybe in that sense, that's what they mean by the Saturday. What do they say about it? An emotional journey through Paris where vibrant notes of pepper and cardamom dance in the air. It's not actually overly peppery and cardamom. The main thing that I get is flour, as in Flour, flour, as from bois farine. As you wander, the warmth of cedarwood and velvety sandalwood slowly unfolds, wrapping you in their embrace. An unforgettable moment ending with a blend of luscious vanilla and sensual tonka bean, evoking a delightful pause in a cafe with a view of the Eiffel Tower. So did I lose you for a sec, or what happened there? I've had so many tech issues today, not to do with this, obviously, but just generally tech issues. Don't you start messing with me. Work in terms of your experience of Paris, in which case that's a good thing, right? Often Lich says, we're back, gremlins. Yeah. Well, according to what happened on my screen, I lost you for about no more than a second. But if we're back, we're back. I'm not even going to begin to tell you the tech woes I had today. Let me just quickly go and see what the YouTube thing is saying. Oh, it's saying excellent connection. So there we go. And now I'm supposedly frozen, am I? Well, I'm not on my screen. Let's just keep going. Let's keep going and see what happens. So we had got to numbers 9 and 10. Number nine is the one that really, really tests my patience in terms of... Oh, the picture is strange, says Alex Desmond. Well, I haven't done anything different here. What can we do? What can we do? I can't do anything from this end. I've got a message on my YouTube saying that the quality of the stream is excellent. I don't know what else to try. Let's keep going, shall we? It's all fine for me, says Georgie. Okay. Now, number 9, which is by Anne Flippo, is called Coup de Foudre. Well, we know what a coup de foudre is. Quai Voltaire. And I don't know how you're meant to pronounce that Q-U-A-I word, but I think I mostly know how to pronounce Voltaire. So let's keep going while the going's good. This is number 9. Anne Flippo's work is always, always worth paying attention to. And this is now, okay, this one was interesting as well. That's probably my top 3, actually, is the one we've just had, the Jan Vanier, and this one, because this plays the retro card in a different sort of way from the Jan Vanier. This is kind of doing the sort of 80s, early 90s masculine fougère, touches of Brut and Rive Gauche pour Homme by Jacques Cavalier type thing. It's a spicy wood, very, very, very hairy chested, much more so than I would have expected from this range, but nicely done, really nicely done. Okay, pronounced like Quai, as in Quai, as in Quai, Quai Voltaire, Coup de Foudre, Quai Voltaire, by Anne Flippo. Let me just see what's happening on the YouTube thing here. I have no idea what's going on. The internet just doesn't want me to be doing anything with anything to do today. What do they say? The olfactory symbol of love at first sight, Coup de Foudre in French, amber reveals its most seductive and alluring facets. A burst of bergamot and jasmine runs through this distinctive accord, bringing it towards the light. In a play of soft light, sandalwood and benzoin harmonize, gradually blending into the depths of tonka bean, creating a moment that evokes timeless dreams. And I know they keep going, they're saying amber, 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 but to me, this has definitely got a kind of fougere feel to it as well. Let's quickly do we didn't do pre-sprayed, so let's do the pre-sprayed Samedi A Paris. That was the Tanguy Guéné one from me. I'm just thrown now by the fact that folks are telling me that the picture isn't very good, let's say. So pre-sprayed the Cedary one by Tanguy Guéné. Again, basically bois farine with more cedar. Very, very nicely done. And pre-sprayed Voltaire. Okay, maybe more ambery and woody rather than fougere, but still very attractive and the most overtly masculine of this lot. And we now finally come crashing to number 10, made by Amandine Clark-Marie of IFF. And this is called L'été, Avenue Gabriel. And that's this one. That's my little vial here. How are we doing on the thing? I have no idea how we're doing anymore. I'm just going to keep going and pretend it's all right. And number 10. Remember I told you there was a sort of lipsticky one? Yes. This is one, which is a kind of unusual thing to do with for a summer, but it isn't just a lipstick scent. I don't know anything about the Avenue Gabriel. They say that it's lined with trees and steeped in quiet elegance. It stretches gently from the edge of the Place de la Concorde through the heart of the Champs-Élysées gardens. The sunlight warms the grand Parisian facades while a soft breeze stirs the leaves and carries the subtle scent of summer. Fair enough. Under a sunny sky, they say, on this elegant tree-lined avenue, juicy, fruity Mirabelle plums celebrate the sweetness of summer. It's very, very plummy. This fragrance is enhanced by a floral heart of vibrant iris and sensual jasmine, evoking the foliage of trees dancing in the breeze. Luxurious suede leather with woody nuances gives the composition a refined, bewitching signature. L'été Avenue Gabriel captures the essence of Parisian summers, where each moment is a delicious treat to savor. And it works, and I think because of the plumminess, because of the floral notes, we get that sort of slightly violet-like, vintagey, lipsticky sort of feel. I think it's very, very, very attractive. And just quickly before I lose you, pre-sprayed L'été. Okay, gone a little bit into sort of slightly more synthetic, thin fruit territory, but still very nicely done. Okay. In summary, I think what I found attractive about this range as a whole was that every single one feels joyous. Every single one feels celebratory in some way. Even the darker ones, even the oud, even the rose leather by Jordi Fernandez, with the exception, I suppose, of the Chaim à la Maison Dieu, which I only had a brief sniff of. I'd have to go back to it, but they all feel like they just want to project some sort of optimism. And I think that's the cohesiveness, that's the sort of aesthetic cohesiveness of the range. They want to be accessible, they want to be approachable without lacking quality. None of these smell cheap or crass in any way, and they better not, they aren't cheap. But somehow they all feel like a genuine celebration of Paris and all of the different facets of Paris. And you kind of get the feeling that the perfumers had a fun time making them. Where the brand goes from this point onwards will be interesting to see. I mean, Paris is a large enough city to have lots and lots of perfumes made about it. But check them out. I was told that there is a discovery set. I think in the UK they're exclusive to Selfridges, but please don't shoot the messenger if that turns out to be wrong. But well worth seeking out. And I hope that the brand does well enough to stick around. Okay, I think we can breathe a sigh of relief. I will try to come back with the next episode because that is just going to be a brief one, unless the tech really, really tells me that I mustn't. But thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you in a bit. Bye now.